The moment Daniel Reed stepped through the shattered side entrance of Vista Hospital, he felt the temperature drop by at least 10 degrees. Not the kind of cold that came from old concrete or open air, but a deeper cold, the kind that clung to the inside of his ribs and whispered that he should not be here. Even the dust felt colder. Even his breath looked wrong, spreading in front of him in pale, trembling clouds. The beam of his flashlight swept across the admitting ward, revealing rows of rusted wheelchairs lined up like corpses waiting for identification. One of them still had restraints attached, buckled tight as though someone had struggled in them only minutes before. Daniel leaned closer, and his heart froze. The leather straps were clean. No dust, no mold, no time, as if they'd been touched tonight. He swallowed hard. "Okay," he whispered into his camera. "This hospital is already more active than Queen Mary ever was." The floor groaned under his boots. Not from weight but from memory. Vista was built on suffering. Underfunded, understaffed, notorious for losing patients in the middle of the night. Doctors quit. Nurses transferred. Those who stayed never slept enough to maintain what remained of their sanity. The walls were soaked in trauma, and trauma never left quietly. His camera flickered once, then steadied. Daniel stepped deeper into the ward. To his left, an overturned gurney rested in the hallway, its wheels still spinning slowly as if someone had just pushed it. He froze. The halls were silent, thick, crushing silent, but those wheels turned with a patient, deliberate rhythm. No draft could do that. The air was too still, too dead. He raised his flashlight. "Hello?" he called softly. "If someone's in here, I'm filming a documentary. I'm not here to vandalize anything." His voice sounded wrong inside the building. Too loud and too small at the same time, like it entered a space that swallowed sound instead of echoing it. In the far corner, something shifted. Not a shadow, not just light. Something moved. Daniel swung the flashlight, heart hammering through his chest. But all he found was a doorway leading into the former triage area. His instincts told him to leave that door alone. His curiosity told him otherwise. Curiosity had always been his weakness. The thing that pushed him into abandoned prisons, haunted mines, drowned tunnels, and now this decaying medical graveyard. He approached the doorway. The triage room still held 3 hospital beds. Their white sheets turned the color of old bone. Above them hung broken 4 bags, stiff with age, dangling like useless cocoons. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic. Sharp, aggressive, recent. As though someone had cleaned the room only hours ago. But no one had stepped foot in Vista in decades. Then he saw the monitors. Dark, dead, except for one. The middle heart monitor flickered to life. Beep. Daniel's skin crawled. Another beep. Slower. Weaker. An old heart rhythm. From a dead machine. With no electricity. His breath caught. No way, no way. The monitor's glow brightened, casting a sickly green light across the bed. The sheets on the mattress shifted, sinking inward as though something heavy was lying on it. Something that breathed. Something that waited. Daniel stepped backward. His camera trembled in his hands. He knew he should run, but the door behind him creaked shut on its own, clicking softly into place. The heart monitor's rhythm changed. It accelerated. Desperate. Fighting for life. Beep, 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 beep. Daniel pressed his back against the wall. "Stop. Please stop." But the machine responded violently. A flatline scream erupting through the room, piercing the air. Beep. Then, without warning, the entire machine shut off. Silence. Daniel's flashlight dimmed. Then the bulbs overhead flickered in rapid, frantic pulses, illuminating the entire room like a dying strobe light. And that's when Daniel saw it. A silhouette, thin, jerking, unnaturally tall, standing at the far end of the room, its posture bent and broken, as though its spine had collapsed decades ago. Its head twitched sharply, like it was trying to recognize him but couldn't quite remember how. The lights flashed again off on, and the figure was suddenly closer, 5 feet away, facing him. Daniel choked on his breath, unable to scream, unable to move. The figure's hospital gown hung loosely from its frame, stained with something dark and dried. Its feet were bare, bones pressing through thin gray skin like they wanted to break free. The lights flickered again off on. Now it was only inches away, right in front of him. Daniel felt its cold breath against his cheek. Not human, not warm, not alive. His body trembled violently. Then, in a voice barely more than a crackling exhale, it whispered, "Help me." Daniel gasped. I can't." The figure twitched violently, its head snapping to the side with a sickening crack. Its jaw distended, opening too wide, too far, the skin stretching until it nearly tore. A low moan escaped from deep inside its hollow chest, the sound of someone who had died desperate and alone. "They left us," it whispered. "Don't leave." Daniel bolted for the door, slamming his shoulder into it until it burst open. He stumbled into the hallway and sprinted, flashlight bouncing wildly. Something dragged behind him, scraping across tile. A gait uneven and unnatural. The forgotten patient was following him. Every hallway looked the same. Every doorway led to more darkness. The hospital closed around him like a maze that breathed. He turned a corner, stopped dead in his tracks. There were more, dozens. Patients in rotting gowns standing in the hallway, motionless. Their bodies contorted in ways bones were never meant to bend. Some leaned against walls. Some sat in wheelchairs. Some crawled along the floor, dragging their ruined limbs. Their heads turned toward him in perfect unison. And every single one whispered the same word. "Stay!" Daniel stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen stand. His camera clattered across the floor, still recording. Hands, cold, skeletal hands, reached for him from every direction. "Please," one rasped. "Don't leave us. We were forgotten," another moaned. "Don't forget us too." Daniel pushed himself up and ran, slipping on the broken tiles, weaving through rusted stretchers, slipping past outstretched fingers. The hallway seemed endless, twisting into places that didn't exist on the hospital's blueprint. Finally, he found a stairwell. He threw the door open and ran down the steps two at a time, heart hammering, lungs burning. The hospital didn't chase him. It didn't need to. It knew he wasn't going anywhere, because he had already heard them, already seen them, already answered. Daniel collapsed against the stairwell wall, gasping for breath. After several shaky seconds, he reached for his camera. The recording light was still on. And on the screen, in the reflection on the glass, he saw something behind him, something standing at the top of the stairs, smiling with a broken jaw. Daniel stumbled down the stairwell until he reached the basement level, where the air grew dense enough to taste. The scent hit him first, metallic, cold, unmistakably surgical. It clung to his throat like old anesthesia. When he pushed the basement door open, the hinges screamed loud enough to echo through the dark, revealing a long corridor lined with operating rooms. Each door had a small rectangular window. Each window was black, except one. Room B17 glowed with a faint yellow light. Daniel didn't want to go in. Every instinct in his body begged him to keep running. But the hospital seemed to pull him toward that door like a current dragging him underwater. His flashlight flickered as he approached, casting crooked shadows along the peeling walls. When he reached the window, he froze. Inside stood an old surgical table, its metal surface clean, polished, almost shining. Too clean. The rest of the room was in ruins, but the table looked prepared. Waiting, straps laid out neatly, tools arranged in a perfect row, and someone lay on the table. At first he thought it was a mannequin, the skin too pale and the body too still. But then its chest rose in a shallow, trembling breath. Daniel whispered, "No, no, that's impossible." The figure twitched, slowly, painfully. His head turned toward him, eyes open, eyes alive. "Help me?" It rasped, voice clawing at the room like broken glass. They said it wouldn't hurt anymore. Daniel backed away, shaking his head. "I can't. I'm not a doctor." The overhead light inside the room flickered violently, and the figure on the table arched its back, releasing a raw, tearing scream. Surgical lights snapped on beside it, flooding the corridor with blinding white. And then something stepped into view. A silhouette in an old surgeon's coat. Tall, rigid, moving with the stiff rhythm of someone who hadn't walked in decades. A rusted scalpel dangled from its hand. Its head twitched once, twice. Then it looked at Daniel through the window. Not curious, not confused, but eager. Daniel turned and ran. The corridor warped around him, doors slamming shut on both sides as the fluorescent lights overhead burst one by one behind him. Pop, pop, pop. Like the building itself was chasing him. He sprinted past abandoned X-ray rooms, past collapsed ceilings, past wheelchairs that jerked forward on their own as he passed. The entire hospital had woken up now, every forgotten patient stirring, every long-dead echo reaching for him. Finally, he reached the exit hallway. He could see the faint blue glow of the outside through cracked double doors. He pushed forward, and the doors locked themselves before he could touch them. A whisper slid through the hallway. "Stay!" Dozens of voices layered into one. Daniel stepped backward, shaking uncontrollably. Shadows stretched across the walls like skeletal hands reaching toward him. The hospital didn't want him to leave. It wanted him to become one of them. He grabbed his camera, breath ragged, voice barely holding together. "If anyone finds this footage, don't come here. Don't ever come here. This place, it's alive. It knows you. It remembers you." The lights dimmed. The whispers grew louder. Daniel lifted the camera one last time as something crawled out of the darkness behind him. If you want more terrifying stories like this, more haunted places, more lost footage, and more nightmares brought to life, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more. New horror drops every week. If you're brave enough to return.